Shouldn't be.
No, you're there now.
I think we've everybody in there. So, listen, I suppose just want to see. It's strange looking at no faces on cameras. It's just blank screen. So, if you have a camera, turn them on. But my name is Charlie Harrison. I'm the GAA's international manager, and I'm, I suppose, lead on the World GAA Games event that's happening in Waterford, as you know, from the 13th to the 17th of July. We just wanted to have a webinar just for an explanation purposes, really, and a Q&A. If there's any concerns, just to outline previous experiences. And we've a couple of people, Tom, from Waterford, that went through this whole process in 2019, so we'll be able to explain what good looks like. I'm going to introduce you to a few people. So Kieran McLaughlin, who is the World GAA Council chairperson, who basically looks after the World Council, and the World Council are the policy makers for World GAA. So Kieran McLaughlin is just going to do a quick intro there.
Hello, everybody. Rich, Dave even. Great to be on, not keeping anyone back. Essentially, Charlie, maybe insofar as taking this meeting forward tonight, Charlie wouldn't be trivialising the work that's going on in the background, but can I assure you, I only see the tip of the iceberg. There's an awful lot of work going on to make this happen, and you people are integral to that. That's really all I wanted to get involved tonight to do, was to thank you so much. Having been involved myself previously in the Derry Games in 2023, I wasn't unfortunate enough to be in Waterford, but I will be there this time with the grace of God. I saw the impact that the clubs made on, and the relationships that were fostered by the friendships that you people create in the clubs. And that's, look, there's nothing more important in our games than how we can orientate the family feel good factor for people coming from across the world who may not have been in Ireland before. So without further ado, I want to thank you all, the clubs in Waterford, the Waterford County Board, the ones on tonight, Tom's on from past experiences. Everyone's gelling together, the Waterford City Council, the Croke Park, and Munster Council as well. So it is going to be a wonderful, wonderful games, and I hope that you leave tonight enthused by the part that your club's going to be able to make to this, and the opportunities you're going to give, and as much as anything, the experiences you're going to create. So thank you all. At the very end, we'll wrap up, but just for now, we'll move on past that. All right. So thank you again.
Thank you, Kieran. I suppose just from the outset, there won't be too much of this, but from all the research that we've done on previous World Games, the one event that stands out for all our clubs is the twinning relationship and partnership. And in previous World Games, there has been a bond built up between visiting teams and the clubs themselves, and it's a particular highlight for the visiting clubs. And not to kind of, I suppose, dwell on this too much, but we're dealing with teams that are coming from far-flung places as Zambia, South America, you know, all over the world. And they've been saving for 3 years to get to this event. And we really appreciate what everybody is doing for this event. So on the call as well, we've David Britton, who's the lead down in Waterford, and we've Owen Burnup from Waterford County Board, and Tom Cullen, who's going to go through the experiences of 2019. So David, if you want to take it away there.
Thanks very much, Charlie. Just to mention, tonight's session is being recorded as well, just so we can circulate it for the teams who are unable to attend tonight. So I'll just go through the running order briefly. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to hear from Tom, as Charlie had mentioned, whose team, Tremor, Club Tremor, I should say, was part of the twinning process in 2019. Then I'll do a brief presentation in relation to the games, with particular emphasis on the twinning process. And just to mention as well, the chat section is open there. So throughout, if people want to populate that with their questions, please feel free to do it. Owen is monitoring that there as well for us. So we'll do our best to address any questions anybody does have throughout at the end of the session. So I'm going to hand you over to Tom there now, who's going to take us through his experience and Tremor's experience in 2019. Can you see that, Tom?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks, lads. Thanks to Kieran, to Charlie, to Dave, and to Owen for giving me the opportunity to go through this, and just to tell you what a brilliant experience we had in 2019. I suppose at the time we didn't have a clue what we were getting ourselves into. So the brief was really about doing something that was socially and culturally useful to these teams that are coming over. And one of the important aspects of it was that about 60% of the people that were coming were not born in Ireland. So we were lucky enough that we had Canada and Argentina, and one of the lads from had his family, had his history had been in Tramore, and some of his family members historically had played for Tramore over the years. So we had that link there that we were able to use. But I suppose we thought it was going to be a lot of expats that were coming over, but we just didn't realize the number of people that were coming over that just loved the Irish culture and everything that was to do with community and all the good things why we're all involved in this sport in the first place. So when we all get tied up in the administrative nightmare that is running and challenges of running a club, this really is something that's just a brilliant experience, and it doesn't take up an awful lot of time. It doesn't take an awful lot of organization. It just takes a bit of commitment to make sure you open sort of your hearts up to these people coming in, and that you do a little bit for them on the night. So I'll just tell you what we did. So when Canada came, we had Canada and Argentina, so we got their logos of their clubs, and we just got them printed off, and we put them on the gates when they arrived first. We'd already made some contact with them. They were only there for a few hours in the evening, so it wasn't a huge commitment either. We had a bit of a parade. We had some training sessions that were on that day anyway, and we got some local Irish dancers. The Kyotis group did some music on the night, so that was the cultural bit that we were trying to bring. And we were fortunate enough that Tramore has been associated with the Pickertown ambush, and Michael McGrath was killed in that Pickertown ambush. So Martin Griffin, who's one of our club members, had written about that, and we'd had a couple of nights in the club, trying to put the history at the front of why we were there as a club. And Martin then kindly came that night and brought everyone through the Pickertown ambush and what happened back in 1921, and that was unbelievable. That was for people that didn't know the history but knew the history of Ireland. That was hugely important from a cultural point of view. But not everyone was as fortunate enough to have someone like Martin there to talk for us. So we had the bar in the club. Our bar's closed now, but at the time the bar was open. So we had a few pints. There was tea and coffee, and we also had, obviously, Dooley's, our local chippers, were kind enough to give fish and chips to everyone. So, and you couldn't really come to Tramore without getting a few fish and chips. We had boys and girls under 9, under 10 that were training there on the night. So we got the Canadian and players and coaches involved, doing a little bit of coaching with our coaching, which they absolutely love. Most of it was really just enthusiasm. They weren't bringing their own sort of knowledge to base. They were just being enthusiastic and getting involved with the kids. They loved that. They loved the opportunity of being able to just be involved, just being supportive at a one-off session. That was absolutely brilliant. And then we did a skills and drills session. So we used some of our own coaches and some of our players who came along, some of the adult players, and we did a skills and drills session. And they loved that as well, because that was the big interaction between them and us, and between the players and us. They all broke off into groups, and we were able to just chat individually rather than this big, getting 30 or 40 people in together and trying to talk to them as a group. We just split them up amongst the players and amongst the groups, and that worked really, really well, because they got lots of different experiences in the one night, just chatting and really just making friendships. They were so delighted to be able to meet our own players and our club members and our parents. So that was hugely important. At the end, we did a jersey for them, and we did an exchange. They brought over, the Canadian team brought over an ice hockey stick. Sure, of course, everybody was hanging on to this and looking. They all had a few ice hockey sticks themselves. So, of course, at the end, everyone decided, we were all getting on great at that stage. There'd been a couple of pints. Everybody was getting to know each other, so we decided to have a match. Well, that lasted about 5 minutes, and I think the fear was that the Pickertown ambush could have been reenacted in Tramore. So we quickly finished up off that, and that was it. But it was a brilliant night. Everybody who was involved really didn't know what was to expect, but we all walked away going, that's what it's all about: bringing people together, developing friendships through the sport. And so I would say absolutely, do this together. We did it with Camogian ladies football. We're doing it with Camogian ladies football again. Instead of fighting over pitches and money and everything else that goes with that, it was brilliant. We'll do that project together again this year. And we, trying to work towards that amalgamation is really important. And it's a lovely project to do us for the coach to do collectively together as well. So I'd you can get my number from Dave, anybody that wants to ask any questions, but I'm delighted to help anybody who's, trying to put something together as well. So that about covers it, lads.
Thanks a million, Tom. That was fantastic. And just to say thanks very much, Tom is actually breaking his family holiday to deliver this for us tonight. So extra thanks on that one, Tom.
Thanks, really lads. Good luck with it.
Thanks again.
Thanks a million, Tom. Really appreciate it. So, David, if you go ahead there.
Thanks, Charlie. I was going to move on to the presentation piece, Charlie, unless you had something to say.
Nope.
Okay. I'm just going to go through a short little presentation here, guys, just to kind of give you a flavor of what to expect from the week, with, I suppose, particular emphasis in relation to the twinning process itself and the other auxiliary events that will be of relevance to the twinning clubs throughout. So kind of just to give you a brief overview of World GAA. So there's over 560 teams dotted throughout the entire globe, stretching from Asia through the Middle East, through Africa, through South America, on into the US, Canada, Britain, and Europe as well. There's over 30,000 players playing our games globally through World GAA, which is phenomenal. And as you can see there's huge testament kind of needs to go towards Charlie and Kieran for the work they've done towards this. There's over 200 teams in the US alone, so there's been massive growth in this area as I suppose a brand within the GAA for global GAA over the last couple of years. And the celebration is the World Games, which will come to Waterford in July. Just give you an idea of the week itself. So as mentioned, we're going from Monday the 13th to Friday the 17th of July. There are 113 teams registered. It's over 2,000 players, coaches, and officials. We're expecting anything up to 2,000 spectators each day. The games will take place in Setu Arena from Monday to Thursday, with the finals in Azori Welsh Park then on the Friday, and the official sponsors are O'Neills.com. It's just a breakdown of the teams. So you can see the 113 there. There's also, for the first time ever in the history of the games, handball will compete in the games. So we have 19 handballers registered who compete in the World Games for the first time from 6 different teams as well. It's a kind of legit analytics in relation to how the week will look. 400 games will be played, or over 400 games will be played. As you can see, all 6 codes will be involved: LGFA, Camogie, handball, football, hurling, and rounders. The breakdown of the running order of the week. So registration is really when the whole event kicks off, even though the games don't start till Monday. We have the registration process, which will see teams coming to Setu to collect their gear and their information packs. We have the opening ceremony then, and we'll go into this in a little bit more detail soon. That's on Monday the 13th. So there'll be parade, and we'll finish with a gathering in John Roberts Square where there'll be music and speeches. As mentioned, we have the matches that will take place from the 13th to the 16th in Setu Arena. And then on the Thursday, we will have rounders who will be giving an exhibition match there as well. The twinning event then will take place on Tuesday. We'll go into that in more detail soon as well. So we'll see the 113 teams visiting all the local clubs. On the Thursday, we have a packed calendar, to be fair. On the Thursday, which is the 16th, in Waterford City and Council Hall, there'll be a Gaelic Games Connects business forum. And then the finals will take place on Friday the 17th in Azori Welsh Park, with the closing ceremony in the Apple Market that evening from around 6 o'clock onwards. That's a whistle-stop tour of the week there. I'm going to just focus in on some of the more relevant areas to people on the call now. So there's a map of where there's John Roberts Square, where the parade will take place. It'll walk to, that's the Apple Market there. It'll begin in the Waterside Car Park and move from there up to John Roberts Square, which will end with the concert and the speeches. We'll obviously be looking for volunteers to help throughout from the steward's perspective. The volunteer portal, the expression of interest, has been open for some time now. We're getting really good feedback and input in that, but obviously we want to get one final push for anybody who hasn't put their name forward. We'd really appreciate it if they could. Just to focus in on the twinning process. So the list of twinning partners has been shared now with the local and traveling clubs as of last week. We have had a huge amount of interaction around this, just to give thanks really to Owen, Fiona, and Sheila for the work they put in the background. This is a massive amount of work has gone in the background of this. I was involved in some of the meetings myself. The guys have been meeting for the last couple of months. It is a very hard task to arrange everything. We would have had a huge amount of requests from local clubs, but also from traveling clubs to be twinned with certain teams. We have done our utmost to accommodate people as much as we can. We've also tried to be very cognizant of the fact of the geographical proximity. We're trying not to make teams have to travel too far to collect one of the traveling teams, but there are constraints in relation to how much control we have over all of this. So we've tried our best, and as I said, any of the requests that came in, we really tried to work with that. There was a few slight amendments required, only a handful really required to the list that was sent out on Friday. So there will be an updated list issued by the end of this week as well, just to fix those amendments. So what we will be looking to do now over the next week or so is send individualized emails between the teams that are traveling and their twinning partners. That will be, for all intents and purposes, introductory emails. So we will be handing over people's contact details, the TLOs that are traveling, and also the contacts for the local clubs. So the clubs, the traveling clubs and the local clubs can start to liaise and communicate and set up calls and make arrangements for the week of the games. And again, with particular emphasis on the parade, which takes place on the Monday. We'd really, really, really love if the twinning teams could be part of the parade as well. The kids bring the underage teams in and their parents and march in the parade with their twinning partners. And then obviously the big event then is the Tuesday, which is the club twinning event. Like you've heard from Tom there, who spoke so eloquently and passionately about what the twinning event meant to Tramore. I'm from Tramore myself, so I can remember it well, to the area, but probably more importantly to the teams that have travelled. As Charlie has said, these teams have been saving money for the last number of years. This really is a trip of a lifetime for them. So the twinning event, like what we're asking the clubs is to make it a celebration of all that is good within the GAA: community, culture, people, and games. I think if we can keep that in mind, you won't go too far wrong. Just an overview. So there's 48 local clubs that will be involved in the club twinning program. So again, what are we asking you to do? We will share the contact details via emails over the next week. So make contact with the visiting teams over the next fortnight. Have an online call with the TLO and anybody else who wants to be involved. Familiarize yourselves with them. Make arrangements to provide whatever support you can throughout the week. Arrange transports for the visiting clubs for the twinning night on the 14th of July as well. So again, just to focus in on kind of the expectations or the asks of the local club. So we're asking to be available. And I don't just mean for the twinning event, I mean in the build up towards the twinning event. So if we put someone forward as a point of contact, that they are contactable and that the clubs are able to get in contact and have their questions answered. Attend the parade, as we've already covered in the opening ceremony. Look, I think most of Waterford will be at that anyway, for obvious reasons, because it'll be a fantastic event and a huge festival as well, and all the reason to get out in the streets for everybody to enjoy themselves. As we said, to host the club on Tuesday, the 14th of July. Ideally to attend the games to support as well, guys. The more people we can have in at this games, the better it'll be for the region, the better it'll be for the travelling clubs, but also for the county board and the local clubs as well. And where possible, offer pitching facilities to the travelling clubs should they require. areas to train in throughout the week. Just for the visiting teams, again, these are kind of the asks. So we're asking, make contact, stay in contact, build up a rapport, build up a relationship in the lead up to this. The more the visiting teams put into this, the more the local teams put into this, the smoother it will run throughout the week, the better the experience everybody will have. So inform the club of your travel arrangements, accommodation arrangements as well, and obviously be there on the night for the club visit. In addition to the twinning event and the parade, I suppose the overall event, as we've covered, will run from the Monday to the Friday, the 13th to the 17th. And we are going to be looking for, and we're giving another call out now. As I said, the interaction and the input has been great so far, but we're giving a final call out now. We're looking for about 50 volunteers a day. So anybody living locally who's around that week and wants to have a fantastic experience for the week, please put your names forward to volunteer. We'll need people to help around pitches, stewards, car parks. There will be a family fun zone there on site. Just generally to have hands on deck just to assist people. As Charlie had mentioned earlier, like we have a team coming over from Zambia, from every part of the world are coming over. So the more people we can have, the more special this will be. There will be a training workshop. We'll come back with a date on that. That'll be early in July. We'll also be using the academy players from Waterford GAA, LGFA, and Camogie to assist throughout. There is a QR code there, guys, that you can take to scan to get to the expression of interest link. But I'll make sure that it's furthered again through the county board and the various codes as well, just so everybody has it directly into the club email address. That's our various social handles there. So if you haven't been across them already, I encourage you to be across them, because there's some great videos being shared and various information being shared throughout relevant to the World Games. That's my own email address there, so you can contact me if you have any follow-up questions. I know a lot of you have been on, and we've been back and forth as well. And Neve, who many of you know, Neve Savage from the Waterford County Board, has joined the team as well, and that's Neve's email address. So that's the way to get us in the lead up to the games. I think we were 5 weeks out on Monday, if I'm not incorrect. So it's not long to go. We'll be a month out on next Monday. So it's really gathering steam. So just like to thank you for your attention there. So I think that brings us then on to the final part, which is any questions there.
There's a
couple.
couple.
A couple of questions. Yeah, one ahead.
I'm going to start with one. There's one on the parade, and then we'll come back to maybe some of the other ones about training, because there's just one on the parade. Is there a start time yet for the parade?
There is, yeah. The parade is going to start at 6:30 p.m. and it will go from Waterside Car Park right up to where David's shown. I suppose it's going to be a really good event. We've a number of bands, score acts, very short speeches. So we're hoping that it's going to be a really good, fun event. And similarly to that will run, till 9:30. And the closing ceremony as well is going to be a good family run event as well, where we're expecting about 4,500, 5,000 people in the Apple Market Square. And that will start at 6:30 and finish up at 9:30 as well. So we'd love to see everyone's faces there, and expect a good send off for everybody. Owen, what else is there?
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, a couple of queries about how clubs, is it on the host clubs to provide the transport? And there's a club here that would be taking 2 teams, but have only one ground, which is kind of covered by Tom. Maybe that they did take a couple of different teams, but is it on the host clubs to provide the transport? Particularly if they have 2 teams that are coming from, they mightn't have 2 teams. They might have 2 teams. There's a couple of clubs in this scenario where they have 2 teams, but they're from 2 different clubs or 2 different parts of the world.
Yeah, so I suppose, as David pointed out, we are expecting host clubs to help out where travel is possible. We have tried to join up the visiting teams to the local clubs as closely as possible, so there isn't a major distance there. Listen, talk to us on that. But as you know, Tom mentioned, Tom has his hand up there. If you want to help out in one of those questions, Tom.
Yeah, I only wanted to mention, Charlie, maybe worth if my memory serves me right, the teams are only there for 2 hours. Would that be right? So is it? I think the twinning only lasts for a couple of hours. It's not a long visit to the club as such, isn't it? Maybe 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, again, I mean, it's up to the club. Like you've kind of laid out a really nice program, right? So, that a lot of effort went into that. That's probably the Rolls Royce side of the house. We'd love if everybody was able to experience something like that. Um, you know, if it's an hour, if it's 2 hours, great. We would love that. And to get a whole cultural experience. As we said, we've some teams that are really coming from socially economic deprived areas. A couple of teams, you know, we won't go into it, but they will just love to be a part of what is the GAA community. If you could show them snippets of that, like it doesn't have to be a massive, massive program, but just welcome them into your club umbrella. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, I'd add to that as well that like we didn't change our training structure on the night or anything. We let everything out, but we tried to integrate the two together so people could watch the training, they could enjoy it, they could just get to know the people in the club. It's a little bit about the history of the club. There was a huge interest in just being in the club, just
Yeah,
watching how a normal evening's activities go on in a GA club. So I don't think like maybe I put in a lot of stuff there that we did. Like to be honest, it wasn't that difficult, but the welcoming somebody into a club that's it's part of this. These people are all here to have fun and enjoy themselves and have a great experience. Just if you did nothing more than just welcome them into the club on a training night and had a chat with them,
I think
that's loads.
I think that's it, Tom. And like you're the custodians of the GEA within the island of Ireland and in Waterford. These people are the custodians of the GEA outside the island of Ireland. They do so much to try and grow our games. And as Tom mentioned, 75% of the participants in Derry were non-Irish, were international born. So we expect that to even be higher this time around in Waterford. So listen, anything within your club, cup of tea, and welcome, a little bit about the history, how you run your club. Like these people will just want to know things like that. So to get little tips on how they run their club. So anything that you can do. As I said, Tom's was kind of the Rolls Royce example. There's one other
Even
one
Charlie
there.
and the clubs
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
and
two.
like
There's a
and
couple of
there
other ones. Yeah,
oh, and just the clubs in Derry City, for example, folks, not to, as I say, it's what Charlie said about keeping simplistic. So a few of the clubs would have been Scorn and Og, football clubs, and that's essentially what they said as Thompson, built it around their activities that they already do. So all we're saying is if you have, would depend on you and what codes you play in your club, what other activities you participate in the association, or if you've got something going on in your area that you might think be of interest to those people, as Tom's already said and Charlie's alluded to, it's about you giving them the experience without going to too much angst for yourselves. This isn't about a pressure point. This is about a goodwill relationship but being built.
yeah.
there's a couple.
There's another one there
Yeah,
about what kind of supports are you expecting? I mean, like, simply as the do's and don'ts, where to go to in Waterford, what's the nice places to go to while they're visited. This is a trip of a lifetime for these people. Just give them tips of where to go. Um, you know, plan out when they're here or when they're arriving. There might be somebody from the club being able to welcome them in SETU. Just things like that. If there's people working in the city, they might be able to meet up with people and just make them feel at home. That's the kind of supports we're talking
And
about.
Charlie, and that all starts, Charlie, as you said, doesn't it, from the first email, which will introduce the club to the visiting club, and that's where it starts from.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll do the introduction. Again, we don't want a massive dialogue or taking up massive amounts of your time. But it would be nice just to kind of, I suppose, introduce yourselves, say that you're there for them, and just answer questions. They'll have the probably simplest questions for you. Owen, is there anything else there?
yeah. There was another one there about the accommodation arrangements of the team. So I think that that they're all looking after their own really for that. Isn't that right, Charlie or David?
Oh yeah, so the
Yeah.
teams are already all set up. Accommodation has been sorted pre-Christmas. All the teams are booked into their own accommodation.
And then, Charlie,
there's-
what you have tried to do then, Charlie, on the basis of that is match the teams to those in the accommodation where they're at. So if somebody asked about transport costs, it shouldn't be that they're going to be significant transport costs for anybody. But if there are, you do get in touch with Charlie to the extent of just identifying why. But it's not that you're going to be getting subsidised. But essentially, the clubs, Charlie, are within a 5-10 mile radius, very mostly.
That's we've tried to accommodate clubs and twins to make that relationship as best as we can.
Yeah.
Again, there's 15 per team. That includes, manager and players. It's not a 15-a-side game, so that there's everybody there. You're talking maybe 4 cars to transport one team. Hopefully, David and Owen and the team have worked hard to try and coordinate. We're as close as possible. So hopefully there's an opportunity to do a little shuttle between where their accommodation is and the club area.
Yeah, there's one more there there's one from Carrickbeg about coordinating teams from different points of view. The teams we've tried to put teams who might be staying close. I'm not sure is it Adam or who's on from Mollerman's. Teams will be close to the Carrick and Shore area that are going to Carrickbeg. So there's a couple of teams staying up around Pilltown and Carrick and Shore, and that's up for that. And then Michael Hogan in Old Parish asked a question which kind of touched in with a bit of what you mentioned, Tom, about how a club hosts 2 teams. So the men's club are down for one and the ladies club are down for another. But I think, Tom, you might go through maybe about how you would have worked with the Mogs and the ladies football together and that.
Yeah, and it all works very seamlessly. I got to say, the groups that came and the groups that we met in 2019, they come in like a whirlwind of enthusiasm. They're not 15 people coming in that you have to meet everyone individually and pair them up with someone and walk around. They are having the time of their lives. They're on holiday. They couldn't be happier. If you just go in and literally just welcome them to the club, they'll walk out that gate happy. They're just happy to be there. So there's no real effort that's involved in here. I'm probably looking at this, probably thinking maybe I put in too much in the slide about what we did. But if you just brought them into the club, welcomed them, told them about the club, explained to them the teams that are training that night, explained to them the teams you have in the club, the codes you have, how you work together. But we as a club, between ladies football and Camogie, we were actively involved together doing this before, and there's not that much involved, lads. It's a very enjoyable. You don't have to put yourselves out for these. They're on holidays. You can imagine if you popped into a club abroad when you were on holidays yourself and you told them you were from a club in Ireland, they'd put the hand out and welcome you, and that you'd be delighted just to be there and watch a session. So it's no more than that.
Thanks for that again, Tom. It's much easier from learned experiences rather than myself or David or whoever trying to jabber on. But I suppose, listen, as David mentioned in his presentation, you can contact us if you have any queries outside of the presentations or the webinar itself. Contact us. But I suppose we're about 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks out now. Really looking forward to the event. And the teams are really excited. So once again, just to reiterate what Kieran said, it's just to thank everybody sincerely from the GAA and the World GAA point of view for opening your arms to the World GAA community. And listen, I'm sure if you have a team from Argentina and you plan to go to Argentina, you'll be welcomed in the same kind of fashion. And we've seen that where teams from 2023 and 2019 have gone out to visit teams and they were really well looked after. So I suppose, David, do you have anything else to tidy up on there, or Kieran, before we leave it up?
The one we do, David, I was going to say to you,
Kieran,
David, just to say to you yourself, maybe for sharing with the groups, folks, tonight, the world, and David, you're instrumental. That's why I'm saying to you, they shared the World Games video, and it's just then from your own perspectives in the clubs and how we start to spread that message out. So, David, you put up the various social media handles or whatever words used for that stuff for an old boy like me. But look, David, just from your perspective, taking that forward with these people on this call, if we can try to publicise the club's wonderful. It just gives a wee bit of a feel for what it's about, and there will be a lot more stuff, as you've said, David. There's a lot of traffic on there already. So if clubs would take it and share it with your own club social medias, please.
And just to say, David, before, like, the local economic impact to Waterford was estimated to be 6.9 million euro at the last World Games. This is bigger. This is going to bring 10 million euro into the local economy. We're very, we're very proud of that fact, and we're very happy that Waterford has obviously opened their arms to us, and Waterford City Council, the Waterford County Board, and everybody in Waterford has been very welcoming. But this will have a significant boost to the local economy, and we're very happy to be bringing this World GAA juggernaut to Waterford from the 13th to the 17th of July.
Just saw a request in there, Charlie, just to share the handles again. So I'm just putting it up there. Yeah, kind of just to reiterate everything the lads said. I mean, in relation to the twinning, as you saw, there was 48 local, and I use the word local because we have a team from Kilkenny helping us and a team from Wexford helping us as well. And the reasons we've used them is because the teams that are traveling are staying in those areas. So the primary concern when we were trying to twin the clubs was the geographical proximity in an attempt to alleviate cost on clubs, I suppose. Now, it wasn't always possible, but it was the primary concern. And we also did try to match clubs as closely as we could with the request, but we had all sorts of different requests, including contradictory requests from coaches that were in traveling teams from two different clubs. So we couldn't split them in half, and we did the best we could. Kind of going back to everything the lads have covered there, I think the twinning event and the overall experience, lad, it's a connection piece. Some clubs will be able to offer various different things, bigger clubs and whatever else. But I think like people just coming and getting to experience the authentic running of an Irish GAA club that they may never have had a chance to visit before and may never have a chance to visit again is going to be more than enough.
There's just a question in there about will we be paired with the visiting teams who play the same codes? So the teams have already been paired. That has been shared with all the clubs and all the visiting teams. So if anybody hasn't received that list, please get on to David, and that will be shared with you after.
I think, again, from just a kind of mathematical perspective as well, it just doesn't align that way. There are just more football clubs coming to this event. There's probably more hurling clubs in Waterford. So we've matched them as closely as we can. We've used LGFA, we've used Camogie throughout the twinning process to have the input and say where the clubs would go as well. But as I said, they're just mathematically, it just isn't a direct correlation there that would allow for a perfect matching of clubs. So we've taken that into account as much as we can. But it's as Charlie has said, the list is out there now. There's a small couple of amendments that will be made this week, and the final list will be issued then. And it's been issued through, I think Pat issued it there to the county board. I know it's issued through Camogie, with Sheila and Fiona issued it through LGFA as well. So everybody should have access to it, and it's also been shared, I think, through our social channels as well. There's a link there people can access if they go on our social channels.
Okay, there's one there for you, Owen. Will there be board and no fixtures on the Tuesday night?
I'm just looking at it here. There may be some under 12 hurling games. I don't see any Camogie ladies footballs in the schedule I have, but Sheila or Fiona might come back on that. But there might be a couple of under 12 games on which some people might be able to show off, and their visiting teams might be able to see a juvenile match in action.
Cool. Like obviously we're conscious of people's time. Really appreciate everybody jumping on again and the effort that's going to be put in for the coming weeks. And we're all looking forward to seeing you hopefully down in Waterford City and SETU at the opening and closing ceremonies. And it's, as we said, it's going to be a cultural experience on and off the field. So Kieran, if you just want to finish up there, that would be great.
Yeah, look, and just in finishing up, I hope you get the sense tonight for yourselves, not about what we have talked to you about. Tom, maybe particularly give you the feel for those of you that are new about how much this will be an invigorating event for people involved in the association across the world. And it really is important from your perspective that we help you to put across the best possible evening that you can, safe in the knowledge that you're all Gaels and you all will want to do that anyway because you want your own club to be considered the best in Waterford at hosting. So, look, just that final question about insurance-wise, the players themselves from the visiting clubs are insured for their own purposes throughout the week. That's their job to be insured. But so then, any other queries, channel them through Owen. But for now, it is really very much Goramila Maya Oguf, and we'll see you all in a few weeks' time. Staying in touch, of course, at any juncture with what you need. But have a good night. Thanks everybody for coming on.
Thank you, folks. Really appreciate it. Thanks, David, for setting everything up, and Owen.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
appreciate it. And thanks to Tom.